Hello and welcome to VOP Business. I am Kayla Abraham. On the show today, we'll be turning our spotlights on the most important issues in the economy. Osun State Office of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority on Wednesday said it had shut as many as 75 filling stations for various infractions in the state within 1 month. NMDPRA State Coordinator Mr. Kunle Adeyemo, who disclosed this while speaking with journalists on Wednesday on the activities of the agency in the month of April, said infractions committed by the operators include operating without a valid license. Mr. Adeyemo also said in the month, the surveillance team of the agency visited 301 filling stations across the state, during which it discovered that many filling stations were not operating with valid license. Speaking further, Mr. Adeyemo said the sealed 75 filling stations operating without valid operational licenses and for other infractions in the state in April. In line with the federal government directive, all petroleum marketers have till May 31 to get their valid license. He said the surveillance team of the agency also observed that many marketers have turned their filling stations to parking space, car wash, cash points, or operating without safety facilities, engaging in pump adjustments, using untrained attendants, and urged those engaging in such acts to desist. In order for us to get more analysis on this, because it's a common practice in this part of the world, we have Esther Nwachiku joining us virtually. Esther Nwachiku, nice to have you here.
Hello, Kayla. It's nice to be with you here as well.
All right, Esther, 75 filling stations have been shut down for various infractions in Osun State in 1 month because they are operating without a valid license. Is this a common practice in Nigeria, and why is that?
Well, unfortunately, it is a common practice in Nigeria where we have a lot of establishments and a lot of business enterprises being set up without licensing. And it's quite an unfortunate scenario because we actually have rules, guidelines that prohibits individuals who actually practice setting up establishments without licensing. The question that we should be asking ourselves is, these particular filling stations were set up for a long time, operating, collecting money and making profit, and they were operating without licensing. So it took this long for the Nigerian Midstream and Petroleum Company, or rather the group as the organization as a whole, to actually go about the monitoring, to actually go about accessing most of this. And if you also look at it, if you recall, as early last year when we had the adulterated fuel scenario, that was when Nigerians got to know that a lot of, would I say, most of these organizations and public parastatals, where their responsibility is meant to monitor and ensure that the adequate amount of whatever materials being brought into the country is observed and overseen. But we realized that this particular company, or rather this particular group, that is the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, did not do due diligence in checking the quantity of ethanol that was, in that particular product or consignment that came into the country. And we saw the adverse effect it had in the Nigerian economy. A lot of vehicles actually broke down because of the adulterated petrol. Most companies' generators as well went down. In fact, most, would I say, e-hailers who make money from that particular business lost out because they bought that particular bad product. So here goes again. If we are hearing that some filling stations or filling dispensing outlets in Osun State were closed down without licensing, it seems to be a broad day attitude, a broad day behavior, a common practice in this part of the world, and I will tell you it's quite unfortunate. But do we commend them? Yes, we commend them. It's a good thing that
that brought
eventually
me
did
that
what
that
is
was about to
within
get me
their
to my
guidelines.
question. That was about to get me to my question. The next question, like, would you say like the NMDPRA they're doing their duty? Are we going to commend them for that?
They could have actually done more than this. But this particular development is a good one. This particular outreach, this responsibility that they carried out is a good one. So we'll say, yes, it's a plus, it's commendable, but they can do more. Because this is just a few filling stations. If you look at all the filling stations across the Federation, trust me, it will be more than 75 operating without licenses. And it's just beyond filling stations. You have liquor outlets, you have some supermarket malls, you have some drivers as well who operate without licensing, whether private or commercial bus drivers as well. Other establishments too who are currently operating, making money, evading tax, and they've not been licensed, and nobody is saying anything, nobody knows. So the problem in this part of the world is data. Because we are not properly, we do not really have data, you can't monitor a lot of things. And so people get away with a lot of things that they do. If you do not take the physical efforts to visit most of these sites or most of these infrastructures or establishments across various units in the Federation, you literally wouldn't know that you have so many operations, or so many establishments, so many business outlets operating without proper licensing. So yes, this particular, would I say, behavioral outlook from the NMDPR is a good one. We'll say they can do more. It's expected that they can actually do more. But we do hope that most businesses, whereby is a main factor in terms of internal generating revenue for the country, will be properly licensed before they're allowed to operate. And trust me, most political individuals who own such infrastructures or such establishments, I would say, are even corporates for not having the proper licensing to go about operating their businesses.
That I want to know how come these filling stations built the establishment and even commenced operations for this long, but no proper licensing. What would you say about that?
You said how comes? Is it surprising to you for you to hear that? You do have a lot of buildings that have been erected in the country without going through due process. Or when they even you see money exchange hands. The Code of Conduct Bureau will tell you that you're not supposed to build or erect a structure in a particular site, but then you see structures being erected and it does for so long until something disastrous happens. And then you now begin to see an investigation committee being set up to understand the reason why this structure was erected without due diligence. It's an attitude in this part, I must tell you. The unfortunate thing is that when these individuals go outside the country, they live by the rules. They go by the regulations imposed by that particular country and they adhere strictly to it. But in here, possibly because there are no punitive measures, if you have money, you can buy yourself in. So long as you can sideline whatever due process is involved, so long as you have the higher stake, you can actually do anything you want to do and nobody questions you. So you're asking why it is this? Corruption is the bane. That is one of the things we need to go into when it comes to introspection. If the country intends to move forward, that's the first thing we have to do. So it's beyond the filling stations. It's also other establishments, also other business outlets across the federation. They all have these porosities being observed in how they go about their activities. And so if there is no searchlight put on them, you realize that they get away with almost everything. You'll be surprised to realize that most business enterprises have not paid tax since they commenced operation, and nobody even knows that they have not paid tax. It is when possibly a physical inspection is being carried out that questions will be asked. Hey, this outlet that you're operating here, let me see your particulars, let me see your document, and then you realize that a lot of shady deals have gone on that. So it's a common practice here, and I do hope that the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority will do more, because we actually do have a lot of these corporations, public corporations, government corporations, who need to do more in terms of disposing their responsibilities as to monitoring, implementation, enforcement as well. That is what we're actually lacking here. The rules are there, the procedures are meant to be observed, the policies are in play. But what about implementation and enforcement? Implementation at the beginning of it, enforcement afterwards is what is lacking. So if that continues, of course, you experience a lot of all these things happening, and it's a consistent behavioral attitude with entrepreneurs, with public office holders, and with individuals who actually have access to, would I say, money, access to most of the opportunity to actually erect most of this establishment. So it is the agency themselves, who are meant to monitor and enforce and implement, sometimes you could find that they are culprits in encouraging these outlets to set up commence operations without license. You'll be so surprised to realize that it is even these agencies that let them commence operations whereby due diligence was not followed and they were not given the license. So it is an attitude that is known to be with us in this part of the world. But let's hope that with time and proper governance in terms of having the right individuals occupying positions to make sure that implementation and enforcement is carried on with.
Thank you so much, Esther. It was nice having you here. Thank you. The international airfares on Nigerian routes to various global destinations have skyrocketed again as the International Air Transport Association's exchange rate for ticket sales has risen by 37.5% above the official rate. IATA, the Global Trade Association for World Airlines, had approved the sale of flight tickets in Nigeria at 634 naira per dollar. This is about 173 naira or 37.5% above the Central Bank of Nigeria's official exchange rate, pegged at 461 naira as of 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Following the latest increase in the IATA exchange rate, travel agencies and international airlines operating in Nigeria have adjusted the exchange rate for ticket sales. The development has led to significant increases in airfares ahead of the peak summer travel season, which has gained momentum. Already, Nigerian travelers have been grappling with high airfares worsened by the inability of foreign airlines to repatriate their ticket sales proceeds out of Nigeria due to a shortage of dollars from the CBN International Airlines in Nigeria have closed their low-price ticket inventory in order to cushion the effect of blocked funds put at $802 million as of April. A few months ago, foreign airlines sold tickets at 444 naira per dollar in line with the CBN official exchange rate. However, in recent weeks, IATA has reviewed the exchange rate for ticket sale in Nigeria to 462 naira per dollar, 551 naira per dollar, 582 naira per dollar, 610 naira per dollar, and currently 634 naira per dollar, even though the CBN official exchange rate has remained around 461 naira per dollar. The increases in the IATA exchange rate have led to a commensurate jump in airfares on the Nigerian route. IATA officials justified the exchange rate increases, saying they were in line with the spot rates the CBN has been selling foreign exchange to foreign airlines in Nigeria for the repatriation of their ticket sale proceeds. Foreign airlines submit foreign exchange bids to the CBN through their respective commercial banks every fortnight. The President, General Muhammadu Buhari, has written to the National Assembly seeking approval for a fresh $800 million loan from the World Bank. The President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, read out Buhari's request to lawmakers on the floor of the Senate. This was an increase from the $13.93 billion debt recorded by the Debt Management Office as of December 31, 2022. This means that fresh disbursement on approved loans added $410 million to Nigeria's debt from the World Bank in the first quarter of 2023. The IBRD lends to governments of middle-income and credit-worthy low-income countries, while the IDA provides concessionary loans called credits and grants to governments of the poorest countries. The Budget Office of the Federation has said Nigeria now has a limited borrowing space due to its poor debt-to-revenue ratio, stressing that trouble looms for the country if it exceeds its limits. The Director General of the Budget Office, Ben Akabueze, while addressing members-elect of the 10th National Assembly at their week-long induction ceremony in Abuja on Wednesday, pointed out that while Nigeria remains healthy, with its debt to GDP ratio. The country is not with its debt to revenue ratio. Mr. Akabueze was speaking to the newly elected and returning members of the National Assembly, which is responsible for the consideration, amendment, and passage of annual budgets of the federal government, as well as economic bills like the finance bill. Mr. Akabueze also stated that Nigeria should not be classified as an oil-rich economy. The Budget Office boss added that while Nigeria has a population of over 200 million, we are currently pumping about 1.9 million barrels per day. Akabueze noted that Nigerians often say the country is not short of development plans but has a problem with implementation. The first Securities and Exchange Commission's approved commodities fund has been launched on Wednesday. The new commodities fund, domiciled in the agroeconomic and extractive sector, the Marble Halal Commodities Fund, was set up by Marble Capital Limited. The new asset class, an initial 3 billion naira fund, consists of 30 million units at 100 naira per unit at PAR. But it can be increased subject to the approval of the SEC. The fund, which primarily invests in commodities-linked instruments, operates based on the principles of Sharia and as such only invests in halal-certified investment instruments. Speaking at the launch of the fund in Lagos, the Executive Commissioner for Operations, Securities and Exchange Commission, Dayo Obison, noted that the launch of the fund would play a key role in the attainment of the 2015 to 2025 Nigeria Capital Market Master Plan of the Commission. Obison noted that one of the cardinal points was for 25% of the market capitalization to come from non-interest areas such as Marble Halal Commodities Fund. The Chief Executive Officer, Marble Capital Limited, Akim Oyewale, said that the fund would enhance product diversifications in the Nigerian economy while preventing the loss of investments to Ponzi schemes and phony crowdfunding programs. The main objective of the fund is to provide investors with income diversification and generate returns by investing in diverse halal-compliant instruments. In addition, the fund will also contribute to the economic growth of the country. We believe that we will be able to formalize a lot of non-formal agricultural investment, and that would allow investors to scale investment opportunities. Providing more insights about the fund, an analyst in the Marble Capital, Ibrahim Jimoh, said there is a 90-day period after which the fund invested can be redeemed. He stressed that 50,000 naira was the minimum, which translates to 500 units at the rate of 100 naira per unit. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Abdul Hakim Mobalaji and 6 others as members of governing board of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC. This followed the adoption of the report of Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions at plenary. Those confirmed included Osita Ogbu, Southeast, Umar Gambo Jibrin, Mohammed Haruna, Yasmin Dalhatu. Others were Simon Oge and Abimbola Olashuri. 6 bills also scaled first reading at plenary, including Haliru Dantoro, University of Fisheries and Aquaculture, New Busa, Niger Bill, the Traditional Complementary Alternative Medicine Council Establishment Bill, the Institute of Cooperative Professionals of Nigeria Establishment Bill. Others were the African Union of Development Agency, New Partnership for African Development Bill, the African Union Convention for the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons Domestication and Enforcement Bill, and Institute of Chartered Islamic Finance Professionals Establishment Bill. And that is a wrap on VOP Business. My name is Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.